Just a few more seconds. Yeah. Okay. Welcome everyone. My name is Muiz, and today we are kicking off our customers webinar week, where we are interviewing our customers and asking them about themselves, their businesses, and how have they managed to scale their businesses over the past few years. And today I have a very special guest with me, and his name is Mike Shishka. He is joining us all the way from Alberta, Canada, and he is the founder of Reaction Digital, the agency based out of Alberta, Canada. So, Mike, please introduce yourself to our audience and tell us a little bit about your business.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for having me this morning. Great to be a part of this customer week that you guys are putting together. So my name is Mike Shishka, founder and CEO of Reaction Digital. We are a WordPress development agency that's been around for just over 15 years. We are based in Alberta, as was already shared, but our team and clients are all over mainly the US and Canada. So we are now a fully distributed company. But we weren't always that way. So I'm sure we'll get into some of that today. And we primarily focus on doing full stack WordPress websites for our clients. So that's everything from the strategy and planning, the design, the development, as well as, very importantly, the aftercare and those ongoing services that we provide to help take care of the websites after they're finished.
So 15 years, Mike, that's a pretty long time. I mean, what were you doing before you started this agency?
Well, before I started this agency, technically I was in school. I was pretty young when I started
Wow.
Reaction. In fact, I taught myself graphic design and the basics of web development back in 1997 when I was just 11 years old.
Oh,
And I
amazing.
did this. Yeah, it feels like the web has changed a lot since then, although
Yeah,
it's
it has.
it's
Yeah.
it's been a long time, but a short time.
Yeah.
And yeah, I started, like I said, web development and graphic design when I was just a kid. It was a
Yeah.
hobby. Started building a few websites for a business that my parents' friend would own, those kinds of like friends and family connections, and ended up going to a local community college here in Alberta studying business. And when I graduated, I knew that I really wanted to work in the marketing field, but I wasn't able to get a job in marketing. So I ended up taking a job at a bank. And if you
Okay.
love marketing and design and creative things,
Yeah.
working at a bank is probably not the best place to be.
Yeah.
So it was through that process I realized, you know what, I need to take my destiny into my own hands.
Yeah.
And that was when I decided to, back then, start Reaction Marketing. And we really started from very humble beginnings, doing
Yeah.
websites and marketing and social media work for clients in our local community.
That's amazing, Mike. I mean, that's one of the. I think that's one of the most interesting backstories I've ever seen from our clients, from our customers. So you mentioned that you have customers, you know, in North America and Canada. Who exactly is, if you would want to describe your target market, who is your target market right now? Who do you serve?
Yeah, great question. So we love talking about what we call our most ideal customers, and that's something that we talk about with our
Yeah.
clients a lot. Is you need to understand who you could do business for everyone, but you need to know who is your perfect customer.
Yeah.
And for us, we really love working with businesses. We're somewhat industry agnostic, but we really love working with B2B companies. We love e-commerce websites and companies, and we love publishing. So those are three of the areas that we love to focus on. And typically, our most ideal customer is going to be a business that is doing somewhere between $2 and $20 million a year in revenue. Those businesses tend to have 1 to 2 people working full time in a marketing department or marketing capacity. And these businesses are focused on growth. I don't think anybody hires an agency like Reaction to keep things the same.
Yeah.
Um, and while that's, I think, a good explanation of the profile of our customer in terms of revenue or how their business might be structured or shaped, one of the things that I think is maybe a little bit more holistic that we would look at, or it's something that goes beyond that customer profile, is
Mm-hmm.
we really like to work with clients that has a problem that's at the intersection of business, technology, and marketing. And those seem to be the three things that if we find that there's a problem to be solved there, that gets us pretty excited.
Nice. That's amazing to hear, Mike. So my next question is, which is, what has been your inspiration? What inspired you to start Reaction when you were so young, in fact, and what inspired you to learn web development when you were 11? So, who has been your inspiration, or what has inspired you to go, take this path?
Sure, I'll kind of answer this question in two ways. So when I was quite young, as a not even a teenager yet, starting to get into graphic design and web
Yeah.
development, what really inspired me was online comics. So I used to read Penny Arcade and a few other comics that I don't remember the names of now, but they were these web comics, and you'd go online and see new comic strips posted. So it was myself and one of my friends at the time. We wanted to create our own web comic. So, of course, we
Ah,
had to write and draw the comic. But then we
yeah.
thought, well, how are we going to get this online? So then we
Yeah.
had to teach ourselves a little bit of HTML. And then it was,
Mm,
oh, well, how do we get the comic archive built? Well, we need some PHP for that. And that was really the origin story that got me into it. It
yeah.
was a means to creating this comic, not the thing. It wasn't the web design itself that I sought after. But once I graduated college, and as I mentioned, I ended up getting a job at a bank, which is not the best place for a creative individual to find
Yeah.
themselves. But through that process, I started making a little bit of money, creating some
Mhm.
savings, and then I went to buy a condo, a little apartment. And I was shocked by how you are going to purchase probably one of the most expensive things you'll ever buy in your life, a home. And the marketing was terrible. You got a little black and white sheet with black and white pictures, and the
Yeah.
photos weren't that good. So I thought to myself, you know what? I think some realtors could really use help with marketing these properties. So that was actually how the business originally started. The reaction marketing actually stood for real estate action marketing, was the full name. And the idea
Ah,
was to create websites for realtors, do real estate photography. And this is back when the mobile web was not really a thing yet. So we
yeah.
were doing virtual tours where you would pull up to the house and you could actually tune your radio to a specific station, and then you could listen to a description of the house on loop. So that was how we originally started. But we realized very quickly that this was too small of a niche for our local community here.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes a big chunk out of a realtor's commission on a property if they're spending that kind of money on the
Yeah.
marketing of each house. So we very quickly realized that we were going to have to pivot, expand our audience base a little bit, and then we just started working with other local businesses, and that's really how the business got kicked off.
Yeah. So you started off with real estate as your main target market, and then you expanded into different niches as well. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's an interesting even part of the journey was we used to brand ourselves as your virtual marketing department. So our goal was really to get hired by a company and come in there and help them with their website, their social media, their email,
Mm,
their ads. We wanted to be a one-stop shop. And as the business grew and our team grew and the size of our clients grew, it started to become apparent that offering all of those services almost made you a jack of all trades and master of none. And
yeah.
even if we were really good at a bunch of those things, the perception to the client was, how could you possibly be an expert in all of these fields?
Yeah.
And truthfully, the web and marketing has gotten so complicated today that it really does take a dedicated focus into your area of discipline in order to truly
Yeah.
be an expert. So over the years, we've stepped away from all of our marketing services, and today we are focused pretty much exclusively on website
Yeah.
development, design, and even more specifically with WordPress.
Awesome. So do you still plan to release your online comics, or is that something that you have?
Maybe that will
uh,
be my retirement project.
Nice. I just wanted to hear that. So, uh, okay. So, moving on. Let's talk about. Obviously, it's been 15 years that you have been running this agency. there must have been, times where you have faced, some challenges along your way, and some tough decisions that you might have to make. So what are some of the challenges that you have faced when you were starting your business, or when you were deciding to take your business to the next level? What were some challenges that you faced, and how did you manage to solve those challenges?
Sure. Well, in the early days, there's no shortage of challenges. Almost when you're starting a new business, almost everything is a challenge.
Yeah.
But I think as you start to grow, those challenges, at least for us, really started to become consolidated around making sure we had the right team and the right clients. So having good people to work with all around. Um, I'm a very process oriented individual. So I think that good businesses operate on good processes, good
Hmm.
standard operating procedures. And it's difficult to create documentation and processes around an industry where everything is changing so frequently. And customer experience is really important to me right from the very beginning. So I started Reaction in 2008. And back then, there was a few other local web designers in our community. But one of the things that we would hear is that you would call them and no one would answer the phone, or you'd send an email and it would take 2 or 3 days or a week to hear back. So that was actually one of our really simple things that we did from day one is we said we will always answer the phone, we will always respond to emails in the same day. And it was just those two principles that set a foundation for making customer experience very important.
Hmm.
So when you're doing a very technical projects and you're working with clients for sometimes months at a time, it can be challenging to maintain that consistent client experience. So I would say people, process, and customer experience have been some of the biggest challenges as we grew.
Nice. So you had challenges when you were starting off your business, and obviously, are you still facing some challenges right now, or is it like a very smooth sailing as we speak?
Oh, well, if I found a business that was everything smooth sailing,
Yeah.
then I think that would be rare because there's always challenges, and I think challenges are good because they keep you on your toes and they keep you innovating and moving forward, and they prevent you from getting stuck. So, yeah, there's definitely challenges, but they're different after 15 years. You
Yeah.
do reach a point of feeling a little bit more stable. You feel more sure in the work that you're doing and some of the decisions that you're making. When we were quite a young company, like many businesses, you try to take on every project and every
Yeah.
client that comes around. And sometimes that's good because you're getting those sales, but
Mm.
sometimes it's not good because you're working on the wrong kinds of projects or you're spending time
Yeah.
on things that you shouldn't be. So things like that have gotten easier. But some of the challenges that we think about today is still hiring in a very competitive market. So, as a
Hmm.
remote business, we look for employees or team members from anywhere in the world. And when you can hire anybody, then you need to really be careful about who you're hiring and who you're bringing
Yeah.
on. So,
Yeah.
our HR practices have really had to evolve a lot in the last few years. We continue to work with on process. That's still I won't say it's so much of a challenge, but it's just an ongoing thing that never
Hmm.
stops. And something that comes to mind a lot is on my mind a lot these days is the introduction of AI and
Yeah.
automation into the work that we do.
Yeah.
And I'm actually going to be speaking at WordCamp in Vancouver in a couple of weeks
Oh,
about this
nice.
exact topic because I think that agency owners and developers and people working in this field, we need
Hmm.
to have a healthy fear of this. I don't think it's going to
Yes.
come and just scoop up all of our jobs
Yeah.
and everyone's going to be out of work. But I also think that it will disrupt the way that our industry
Absolutely.
operates.
Yeah.
And we need to be thinking proactively about that. So I don't know what those challenges are yet, but they're going to be coming.
They're gonna be coming. Absolutely. So you're thinking ahead, you're thinking forward, and you're making sure that you're proactive in these sort of things. So that's amazing to hear, Mike. So my next question is, and I think this is more towards how Cloudways came in and sort of helped you in some sort of way in achieving your success. How has what role has Cloudways played over the years since you have been a customer? How what role it has played in making sure that you achieve your targets and your goals?
Well, I think that if you're going to be a very customer service focused company, then you need to be capable and equipped to work with your clients for the long
Yeah.
term. And if you build websites, working with your clients for the long term probably means taking care of their websites. That
Hmm.
could be directly offering a hosting solution to your clients or offering to maintain their website with the hosting provider that they've
Yeah.
chose. And maintaining that long-term relationship with clients has been really key to our success, because I think if you put all the work into building a website, I always tell our customers that the day your website goes live is not the end of the project. That's just the beginning.
Yeah.
And you now have a platform and a framework to continue building on and growing and improving along with your business. And there's often, from the agency's perspective, there can be just as much business, if not more, after the website is finished than even the
Yep.
whole initial project.
Yep.
So over the years, we've worked with many different hosting providers. And one of the things that we've really loved now that we're with Cloudways is just how easy it is to manage all of our websites in one place. So we'll manage
Yep.
between 70 and 100 websites at a time, doing content updates, new
Mhm.
features and functionality, but also just the regular maintenance like backups and plugin and WordPress updates. So Cloudways is of an extremely flexible platform. It's allowed us to have, I would say, the right level of technical control. It gives you enough of the ability to set things up exactly how you want them, integrate other services. We've started playing with the Cloudways API to start getting some data into other tools and services that we use. So it's got quite an advanced set of tools
Mhm.
and features, but it's
Yep.
also very simple to use. And I think that when I talk to other people about Cloudways, that's what I
Mhm.
always say is it's very advanced features, but it's very simple to use.
Yeah.
And for us, that's actually made the process of managing our clients' websites a lot easier. And that makes it's just a smoother process then to keep
Yeah.
all of these clients happy and satisfied, which ultimately allows us to create more reoccurring revenue because we've got a nice pool of happy clients.
Yeah. That's always great to hear, Mike, from customers like yourself, where we get to know that we have some sort of contribution in our customers' success. So that's exactly why we exist. So to make sure that customers like yourself can keep on growing and we don't become a hurdle in your growth, rather than become a partner in your growth, right? So my next question is sort of, attached to this question, which is, what attracted you towards Cloudways? What was the things, or two or three things, that you think were the, crucial factors in your decision to choose Cloudways as your hosting, partner?
Sure. So we were working with another cloud hosting provider, a containerized WordPress
Okay.
provider, and we were starting to run into some limitations with how they had configured their containers. So it worked
Okay.
for most WordPress sites, but maybe not every WordPress website.
Okay.
So it started to become a little bit challenging when you
Hmm.
have one or two websites that require some unique setup or configuration, but that doesn't fit the box of container that a provider has put together.
Hmm.
So that was what initially attracted us to Cloudways, is it seemed like we got the best of both worlds. There was prepackaged, containerized, WordPress optimized environments, but we could go in and tinker with the package settings or add some extra services on if we
Hmm.
really needed. So that was the flexibility that really attracted us to Cloudways. But one of the extra things that I do really want to share is the advanced support product through Slack. So I know it's an
Okay.
additional cost above the hosting service, but having access to the Cloudways support team directly through Slack has also been really instrumental in
Yeah.
improving our ability to serve clients, respond to issues faster,
Yeah.
and quite honestly, it saves us money because the support that we're able to get does take work off of our team. So all of those things together is what really attracted us, and that's what's keeping us there now.
That's amazing to hear. This is the sort of feedback that we seek from our customers who are, happy and successful in their business, so that we can build on that and continue to serve customers like yourself for a very long time. The next question is something that is one of my favorites, and I take a personal interest in this. So, 15 years you have been running this business, and obviously along these years you must have had some very successful projects, or yes, very successful clients, or very happy clients that you served. Can you share a few instances where you were very proud of your success, or very proud of your project that you worked on?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a few sites that particularly come to mind, and yeah, in 15 years we've worked on hundreds of websites. So
Yeah.
there's lots of projects to think back on. One thing I'll say is that at Reaction, we like to consider ourselves a bit of WordPress purists. So we tend to not use a lot of page builders. We're doing custom themes, minimal plugins. So some of the projects I'm most proud of is where our love for WordPress at the core has really been a key part of the work that we've done.
Okay.
We all know that you can add a lot of plugins to your WordPress site and make it do some amazing things, but
Yeah.
there can be some sustainability issues and challenges with maintaining those sites. So
Yeah.
one of the ones that jumps out to me is androidheadlines.com. This is one of the largest Android and tech news websites in the world.
Mhm.
And we were able to take on this client back in 2014. So we've been working with them now almost 10 years. And I'm proud of it because it's a good website. It's nice looking, it's fast, all of those things. But I'm really proud of the relationship we were able to build with this company and their team. And 10 years on now, it feels like we are a part of their team, just as much as some of our own employees. And then in the same category of publishing, a few years ago we started working with Shutterfly, and they brought their one of their sub brands, Spoonflower. They have a WordPress blog, so we were able to take that blog over for them, help them through some technical challenges, remove some unnecessary plugins, and really help them create a very efficient publishing experience using the Gutenberg editor. And
Okay.
these websites are seen by hundreds of thousands or millions of people a month. So those are really things I'm quite proud of. And we've also worked on some really complex e-commerce projects where
Mhm.
we've had businesses with multiple locations, multiple warehouses,
Yeah.
pricing variations for the same products in different locations. And when you start to these things can be solved individually quite nicely with different WooCommerce plugins, but when you start to stack them all together,
Yeah.
it can become quite complex. So we've spent quite a few years building up some of these e-commerce sites with these types of unique business challenges.
Nice. So this website, I have just opened it on my screen. Obviously, you've built it on WordPress. This looks amazing, Mike. I mean, it's a publishing website. Obviously, the revenue model, I believe, would be to get revenue from ads, if I'm not wrong. So the main issue this customer might face is that this website needs to be up at all times, right? Obviously, they can't afford to have any downtime or any performance issues. They need to make sure that there is constant uptime and consistent performance throughout.
That's correct, and speed and performance when you have an ad-driven website is
Yeah.
a bit of a tricky intersection to navigate because ads by nature engage in header bidding. There's a lot of JavaScript running. They have the ability to take over and rewrite
Yeah.
certain elements of the code on the page. With you give a lot of power to an ad script. So being able to have those ad scripts running while still maintaining a site with Core Web Vitals, into
Mm,
the mid to high 90s, that's been one of our big technical achievements on that project.
nice. That's amazing to hear, Mike. Obviously, you must have had a lot more successes in this past 15 years. Obviously, we can't discuss all of them because
Hmm.
we have time constraint. But we would love to know more about that in the future when we invite you in some more future sessions. So obviously now that we are coming towards the end of our session, I just wanted to ask you some questions about what over the past 15 years. Obviously, there must be some times where you think that, okay, so this is something that I have done and this is what I have learned from it, right? So are there any things that you have really learned over the past 15 years that you would want to share with our audience, or with young entrepreneurs like yourself who want to start their own business, like Reaction Digital?
Well, I'll tell you that sometimes the best way to learn any lesson is to try it and to
Yeah.
fail, and I've definitely failed at lots of things, so that must mean that I've learned a lot of things too. Some of the big ones that stand out to me is really making sure that you are auditing who's on your team, um, and making sure that you've got a really good group of people working together. I'm quite proud of the team that we have at Reaction Digital today, and we've had lots of talented individuals come and go out of our office. But it doesn't, just because you're a talented at development or design, or you're really good at
Mhm.
what you do, doesn't always mean that that person works the best with everyone else on the team.
Yeah.
So I think in the past I've sometimes not always had the right mix of team members, because you
Okay.
aren't confident enough to say, you know what, team, this sort of culture or this kind of attitude is more important than the quality of work that you can do.
Yeah.
So definitely being very, uh I say ruthless, but I say that word cautiously, but just
Okay.
having conviction, I would say, about the people that are
Okay.
on your team, and is really important. And the same goes for clients. It's very tempting when you're in the early stages of a
Mm.
business to want to take on every
Yeah.
client and project that comes along, and it takes a lot of it takes a lot of guts, it takes a lot of confidence to be able to say, no, I
No.
don't
Yeah.
think this is the
Mm.
right client or the right project.
Yeah.
And knowing that that's going to free up the time or the bandwidth to work on something that is the right uh, client or project for you. So those are a couple. And also, I mentioned about documentation being a challenge. We didn't really start truly tackling process documentation and creating our standard operating procedures until maybe year 6 or 7 of the business. And I think um, that was way too long to wait to really start building those company processes, because as a young entrepreneur, a new person starting a business, you are often the person doing a lot of the things. So you
Yeah.
know the best way to set up the hosting, or to deploy the WordPress update, or the best way to send a status update to a client. You know those things, and you can teach the first few employees that you hire those things too, and they can do it the same way you do. And it can almost create this false sense that, well, maybe we don't need to write all of this down because
Yeah.
everybody's doing it so well. But as years go by and new employees come, and some will leave the team, if you want to have a very consistent delivery of work, and you want to offer a very consistent customer experience,
Yeah.
you have to be able to document those things. So
Yep.
I think that's something I would have wanted to start a lot earlier.
That's very insightful to hear, Mike. I mean, I think a lot of young people who may be listening to us will learn a lot from someone like you who started off so young, and took risks and and decisions that not many people would be brave enough to make. So with that, Mike, we have reached the end of our session. I want to thank you for taking your time out. You're extremely busy, so a special thank you from everyone at Cloudways for doing this with us, being a part of our customer week. This is something that we are doing for the first time, so hopefully we will be doing this more often in the coming months. So thank you so much, Mike, for being a part of this customer week. Thank you everyone who have who have tuned in today to watch the two sessions that we had for you. uh, this concludes our day one of webinar week. Tomorrow, we will continue with another insightful session from Paul, who is the founder of Mage Cloud, and we will be talking about how he managed to, scale his business over the past few years. So stay tuned tomorrow, and we will have very insightful sessions for you throughout the week. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mike. Goodbye.